Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming SCS exams happening in May 2025. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for SCS at TCS. So let's look at the session plan. First things first, I'm going to share a 3-week study plan with you. If you're yet to start your preparations, you still have time. If you stick to our study plan, you can make sure that you attempt all 6 mock exams and dedicate enough time to conduct your revision as well, focused on the same 6 mock exams. Also, although none of you had submitted mock exam 3 as yet, I went through your mocks 1 and 2, and based on what I understood by going through your mock exams or your answers, actually, I will be sharing general feedback because I've understood certain shortcomings in your answers. And for each of these shortcomings, I will be providing solutions to overcome them when conducting your preparations in the upcoming 3 weeks. And this will be followed by a discussion of one of the mock exams concerning your F3 syllabus, followed by a Q&A session towards the very end of this session. All right, so let me quickly remind you of the upcoming workshops we have scheduled for you. So just like what I'm going to do in today's workshop, I will be covering P3 and E3 syllabi in the upcoming workshops. And in each of these workshops, I will be conducting a Q&A session, just like what I'm going to conduct towards the very end of today's workshop. And the final workshop, which happens 2 or 3 days before your exam, I will be sharing last minute tips with you to make sure that you walk into your exam with a positive attitude, believing in yourself with a high level of confidence, because if you do so, chances of you passing the SCS exam increases significantly. So make sure to attend these weekly webinars or the workshops which we have scheduled for you, which is the best way to keep tabs about your performance on a weekly basis. All right, so let me quickly take you through the SCS 3-week study plan, which we have developed for you. So if you're sticking to the original 8-week study plan, kudos to you, stick to it. Keep attempting a mock exam per week. However, if you are yet to start preparations focused on SCS exams happening in May, it's essential that you revise your study plan, or you have access to a revised study plan there, which highlights what you need to achieve in the upcoming 3 weeks. So first things first, you have to kickstart your preparations by watching the pre-scene analysis videos. There are 4 videos in total. And if you watch these 4 videos, you will gain an in-depth understanding of what is highlighted within your pre-scene document. You need not waste time to decrypt pre-scene info on your own. Simply watch these 4 videos. And after gaining a good understanding of the pre-scene, you need to understand answering technique. We have already, explained answering technique, how to develop answer plans, how to manage your time appropriately in the 3rd webinar. So if you missed out on the webinar, before you start your mock attempts, it's essential that you watch the recording of the 3rd webinar, answering technique. So after learning answering and time management techniques, then you have to kickstart your mock attempts, thereby attempting mock exam 1 via our exam platform, which is the best way to get your bearings with your answering time management as well as stress management techniques. I highlighted stress management techniques last week in the 4th webinar. If you missed it, please go watch it as well if you have time, and keep repeating these techniques when attempting each mock exam. So attempt mock exam 1 via the exam platform, which is going to take 3 hours of your time, just like in your real examination. Once you're done with it, focus your attention towards attempting mock exam 2, because mock exam 1 is there to get your bearings with the type of questions which are thrown at you, to get your bearings with the answering and time management techniques. Definitely, you will run out of time when attempting mock exam. Don't worry. When attempting mock exam 1, don't worry. Keep repeating the answering and time management techniques which we have taught you when attempting each mock exam. So within the same week, attempt mock exam 2 via the exam platform, again, which takes 3 hours of your time. Once you have watched, once you have attempted the 2nd mock exam, watch master classes. There are 3 master classes in total, which is going to take 3 hours of your time. Watch these master classes to learn the theoretical concepts covered within mock exam 2, and at the same time to understand how to apply these theoretical concepts when developing answers, and you will also clearly understand the logic behind each answer once you have watched these master classes. And if you are coming through an exemption route, or if you had failed the SCS exam previously, it is essential that you watch these master classes, which is the best way to significantly improve your theory knowledge and application. Once you have learned theories and application, test your knowledge by redeveloping the answer plans concerning mock exam 2. If you're clueless of how to redevelop answer plans, don't worry. I've taught all these things in the third webinar, so please go watch it. Then you'd understand what redeveloping answer plans is all about. So in a nutshell, you are supposed to redevelop answer plans with the intention of conducting revision focused on the mock which you just attempted. So within the first week itself, you need to start revising, and the only way of revising appropriately, the only way to improve your application skills is to redevelop answer plans focused on the mock exams. Don't waste time trying to go through your theory knowledge or your study texts or study notes. There's absolutely no point of learning theories in isolation, because in this exam, it is not about replicating theories in your answers. Instead, it's all about applying theoretical knowledge when developing your answers. So the only way to improve your application skills is to redevelop answer plans. And once you have redeveloped the answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCSs to further understand what your shortcomings are. Therefore, you can take steps to overcome these shortcomings when conducting revision. And similarly, in week number 2, you need to dedicate or direct your attention towards attempting 2 mock exams, namely mocks 3 and 4. So attempt mock 3 via the exam platform, learn theories and application by watching the master classes. After you're done with it, redevelop answer plans concerning mock exam 3. And we are offering tutor feedback for mock exam 3. So refer to tutor feedback as well to gain a good understanding of what your shortcomings are. And, based on the feedback, again, if you have time, again, redevelop answer plans, which is the best way to significantly improve your answering technique, the quality of your answers, and to improve your application skills. And attempt mock number 4 within the same week, which is going to take 3 hours of your time. Once you're done with the mock attempt, watch master classes to learn theory and improve application, and then conduct revision by redeveloping answer plans concerning mock number 4. And similarly, focus your attention towards finishing mock exam 5 within the third week, which is a week before your exam. Then watch master classes to learn theory and improve application, and you'll receive tutor feedback for mock number 5. Redevelop answer plans, then refer to tutor feedback, and based on your shortcomings, which are highlighted within the tutor feedback, again, develop answer plans with the intention of enhancing the quality of your answers. And similarly, focus your attention towards attempting mock number 6 and conducting revision focused on mock number 6 within week 3. So if you stick to this study plan, within the upcoming 3 weeks, you will be done with all 6 mock exams. You'll be done watching all master classes, so you'd gain a good understanding of all theoretical elements which are tested at the exam. At the same time, you stand a chance to improve your application skills. And once you know all these things, on top of that, you are not just finishing your revision by watching master classes. You are expected to redevelop answer plans. So if you stick to the study plan, you have enough time to do these 3 activities without any hiccups. You can attempt the 6 mocks, watch all 15 master classes, and redevelop answer plans concerning all 6 mock exams. And in the exam week, I want you guys to relax, because it's essential that you are calm and composed both mentally and physically. I highlighted the benefit of this in last week's webinar, so please watch it if you missed it. So within the exam week, with the intention of relaxing, you are not supposed to do anything serious. Simply refer to the answer plans of the first 3 mock exams. You can spend something like 2 hours per answer plan. And when you do this, it's as if you are going through the entire syllabus one last time, and at the same time understanding how each syllabus area can be tested at the exam, and also figuring out how to approach each type of question, how to approach each type of syllabus area, thereby developing high quality answers. So, just refer to the answer plans of the 6 mock exams within the exam week, which is the best type of revision you have to be involved with closer to the exam, and reread the annotated pre-seen one last time with the intention of refreshing your knowledge. And also, we have developed this pre-seen mind map, which we have shared with you via the WhatsApp group. So in the upcoming 3 weeks, on a daily basis, go through this pre-seen mind map, which will make your life easy when it comes to remembering the most important points highlighted within the pre-seen document. And on top of it, within the exam week, reread the annotated pre-seen one last time, so that you gain a good understanding of what appears within your pre-seen. Because if you have already attempted mock exams via our exam platform, you would have understood that you don't have time to go through the pre-seen at or during your examination. So it's essential that you take steps to memorize what appears within your pre-seen, gain a good understanding of your industry and internal dynamics of your chosen company, which is Leothayre. That's why we have shared a pre-seen mind map with you. And as your last activity, reread the annotated pre-seen and stop work 2 days prior to the exam. You have to start resting, because as per the CIMA examiner, if you are well rested, you will perform extremely well at your exam. As I mentioned in last week's webinar, the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So it's as if you are walking into office on a Monday. So during the weekend, if you were exposed to extreme levels of stress, if you couldn't sleep properly, if you didn't eat properly, if you were up till late, then you can't function properly on a Monday. So in order to function properly at your examination, which is going to be a time pressured exam, it's not going to be an easy exam. So it's best that you are calm and composed before the exam, because if you are stressed before the exam, then at your real examination, you will experience extreme levels of stress, which is not too good. You'd end up failing the examination. So that's why I want you guys to stop all work 2 days before the exam. So let's assume your examination is on Wednesday. You have to finish all your work at least by Monday, at least by Sunday. Take Monday and Tuesday off. Walk into the exam with an open mind. I don't want you to go through mock exams, answer plans, suggested answers, or whatnot, right before you walk into the exam. So take a break for 2 days, because in a real life corporate environment, if you are to function properly, you need to have a high level of open-mindedness, high level of positivity. So in order to generate this type of open-mindedness and positivity, start resting, because if you are open-minded, you will develop answers which are totally aligned with the scenario at hand, rather than trying to bring in information from the mock exams which you have attempted. The mocks are there to get your bearings with how each syllabus area is tested at the exam. The mock exams are there to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. Other than that, there's absolutely no point of trying to study or trying to memorize answers which appeared under each and every mock exam. Instead, at your exam, you should rely on the information thrown at you, based on it, develop answers. So in order to do so, you need a high level of open-mindedness. That's exactly why I want you guys to start relaxing 2 days before the exam. So I will be sharing this 3-week study plan after this session via the WhatsApp group. And if you're yet to start preparations, simply by sticking to this study plan, you will definitely pass this time's SCS exam. Hordes of students, although at the very beginning of our webinar series, we say that you are supposed to stick to an 8-week study plan. Most students wait until the last moment. So you don't have any more time to waste. You have to kickstart your preparations this Monday itself. If not, you'd run out of time. If that is the case, you'd have to focus your attention towards attempting the exam in August. However, don't waste time. Within 3 weeks, if you commit yourself to this study plan, then you can become a CIMA member when your results are out. So commit yourself. And if you have any questions or concerns, always get in touch with me via the WhatsApp group. I'm there to help you out. All right. So On top of that, I said that I'm going to share general feedback with you based on your answer scripts. I went through your answer scripts pertaining to mocks 1 and 2. None of you have started mock exam 3 yet or attempted mock exam 3 yet. So after going through your answers, these are the shortcomings, major shortcomings, which I understood. Most of the time, I felt that, 90% of the students in most subtasks, they have deflected from the requirement. So this indicates the fact that you have not understood the requirement clearly, because at the exam, if you don't understand the requirement, then you won't get any marks, right? So for instance, if there's a question about risk identification, there's absolutely no point of highlighting about how you are supposed to mitigate each type of risk which you have identified, because in the question, if it says that you are supposed to identify risks and then come up with mitigatory action, yes, then you are supposed to do so. However, if the question is only focused on identifying risks, then there's absolutely no point of you wasting time to come up with appropriate mitigatory action, because that's not part and parcel of the requirement. So you have to adhere to the requirement fully in order to gain the most amount of marks. And on top of that, I felt that most of the time students tend to misunderstand the requirement, especially when the requirement is quite lengthy. So in the third webinar, I explained a certain technique which you need to adhere to with the intention of gaining a good and clear understanding of each requirement. So before you develop the answer plan, right after reading through the scenario, you are supposed to reiterate the requirement in your own words in a simpler manner. This simplification ensures that you understand the requirement clearly. And on top of that, it assists you whilst developing the answer plan, because when you're structuring your answer or developing the answer plan, you can always refer back to a simplified requirement and see whether you are developing an answer which is 100% aligned with your requirement. So it's crucial that you develop answers which are 100% aligned with the requirement. So with the intention of achieving this, you are supposed to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a simpler manner. And when going through your answers, I figured out that there are major gaps in theory knowledge. And if you don't know your theories, you can't work on application. Because if there's a question in today's session, I'm going to take you through a question to do with financing options or funding options. So if you don't know to explain a gearing ratio, then you won't get good marks for a question to do with funding options. You should have the capability of reading the gearing ratio and recalculating the gearing ratio. You should have the capability of linking the gearing ratio with the interest cover ratio. If you can't do these three things, if there's a question to do with funding options, you won't get good marks. Also, you should know what a 1.15 beta is and what we'd be exposed to if the beta increases, how it impacts our share price, how it impacts our shareholder confidence and shareholder reactions. All these things are theoretical elements which you have to be conversant with. So if you don't know your theories, you can't pass this exam. Again, there could be a question tied to scenario planning. So if you don't know, how to conduct a scenario planning exercise, if you don't know that you are supposed to consider at least 3 scenarios, in which one of the scenarios should be the best case scenario, the second scenario should be the worst case scenario, and the third scenario should be the most probable or the most practical scenario. If you don't know these theoretical elements, you can't pass your examination. So it's essential that you learn all theoretical concepts covered within your E3, F3, and P3 syllabi. That's why we have shared 6 mock exams with you, with the intention of covering all these syllabus areas across the 6 mock exams, so that you won't test your luck at your real examination. So don't try to pass these exams simply by attempting 2 or 3 mock exams. You can't do so, because if you attempt just 2 or 3 mocks, you don't stand a chance of covering all syllabus areas. So before you walk into the exam, it's essential that you learn all theories. And the best way to learn theories is by attempting mock exams which are intended to cover all syllabus areas. And at the same time, when you're watching the master classes, since we are teaching you the theoretical concepts how covered under each mock exam, you'd easily understand the theoretical concepts, and at the same time, you easily understand how to apply these theoretical concepts, theoretical knowledge when developing your answers. And the best way to improve your application skills is by, as I mentioned earlier, watching the master classes, and after that, practicing your application skills by redeveloping answer plans. So you can overcome your theory knowledge and issues with application by watching the master classes. And also, you can test your knowledge, rework on your application skills when it comes to redeveloping answer plans. And also, I figured out that you are not so conversant about how to determine the number of points which should appear under each subtask. So as I mentioned in the third webinar, you are under each subtask, you'd see a weightage provided. This weightage gives you an indication about mark allocations. And when you know how many marks are allocated or dedicated for each subtask, then based on it, you can easily stipulate the number of points you need to include in the answer, because as per what I highlighted in the third webinar, each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So for instance, if 30 marks are dedicated for a certain subtask, then you need to come up with 10 to 15 valid points for a subtask which carries 30 marks. Why 10 to 15? You need to divide 30 by 2 or 30 by 3. So 30 divided by 3 comes up to 10 points. Or if you assume that each valid point carries 2 marks, then divide 30 by 2, then you'd get an answer of 15. So in order to score 30 marks, since each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks, you need to develop points, 10 to 15 points to gain 30 marks if such a question is thrown at you at your real exam. So all these things I've explained in depth in the third webinar. If you still can't understand what I'm talking about, please go watch the recorded version of the third webinar. And in today's workshop, I will, when taking you through the question to do with your F3 syllabus, I will again stipulate how to do this, how to determine the number of points which you need to include under each subtask. And also, I understood that there are issues pertaining to expanding the answer plans, because primarily given the fact that you are struggling with time, although as per our answering technique, although you are expected to develop an answer plan within 30 minutes, when you are doing it for the first time, definitely you would struggle a lot. Although you are expected to develop the answer plan within 30 minutes, you will take 40 to 45 minutes. That's exactly why, especially towards section number 3, the last section, I saw that you have not had enough time to expand the answer plan. That's why in the last subtasks, I could see, parts of the answer plan remaining. The examiner is extremely clear about this. There's absolutely no point of providing answers in bullet points or single line sentences. Instead, per valid answer point, you need to develop a paragraph. That's the only way to ensure that you gain marks for what you have written at the examination. And tied to this, time management was a problem. Most students had run out of time in section number 3. As I mentioned in last week's webinar, in section number 3, you will experience fatigue. With fatigue, you'd tend to give up the process. But at the exam, you are not expected to do it. So when attempting each mock exam, even when your brain is asking you to take a rest or to give up, don't give up. Fight with your brain, focus on your breathing, get out of an emotional situation, get out of a stressful situation. I explained these things in depth in last week's webinar. So focus on your breathing and get out of a stressful situation, and attempt the entire mock across 3 hours. It's not easy, but these mock exams are intended to expose you to exam situations, exam stresses, because it's essential that you are exposed to these situations, these issues right now, rather than facing them for the first time at your real examination. So that's the feedback which I wanted to share with you. I hope you take action to avoid these issues when attempting the upcoming mock exams. All right, so then I'm going to take you through the F3 syllabus. These are the syllabus areas you have to be conversant with if you are to ace your SCS exam tied to the F3 syllabus. All right, so, okay, so I'm looking at finance strategy. So first things first, you have to be well conversant with financing options debt versus equity. And in today's workshop, I'm going to take you through an exam standard and pre-seen specific a question tied to financing options. So I'm not going to explain, debt and equity financing right now in depth, because I'm going to do so in a little while when I'm taking you through the mock exam. And when opting for debt, for instance, you have to demonstrate your credit worthiness to lenders. So when working with banks, if we are opting for additional debt, you need to present some information, share some information with the lenders, with the intention of demonstrating the credit worthiness of Leothayre. If we can't demonstrate our credit worthiness, then we can't opt for additional loan financing in the future. And you should also know how to raise equity financing, thereby handling a rights issue. You need to know what a rights issue is all about and how to conduct a rights issue without any hiccups. Then you have to deal with debt covenants when opting for loan financing. Definitely, we have to adhere to the existing debt covenants or existing contractual agreements which we have with our existing lenders. So you need to know how to deal with any breaches of debt covenants. Then you have to have the capability of valuing different companies. It could be a large company, it could be a small company. There's a way in which you are supposed to value large companies, and there's a way in which you are supposed to value small companies. So you have to be conversant with how to value various different companies, especially tied to mergers or acquisitions. Then how to deal with an additional dividend payment. There's a certain way in which you should approach a question tied to dividend payments. And what happens if we cancel a dividend? Again, there's a way in which you need to tackle a question tied to canceling a dividend payment, thinking about how the stakeholders are going to react to it, how our internal dynamics will be impacted, how our reputation will be impacted, the type of risks which we'd be exposed to tied to canceling a dividend. Then your knowledge pertaining to integrated reporting will be tested, especially concerning the 6 capitals framework. In your pre-seen, there is no mention about sustainability, or if you look at the values, the vision, the mission, there's no mention about a belief system which is based on achieving sustainability. There's no mention about ESG goals being practiced within Leothayre. So definitely, sustainability will be tested at your real exam, especially given the fact that the examiner has given us a hint based on the last news article, which is based on the Space Junk Charter. Definitely, your knowledge pertaining to sustainability will be tested. So tied to sustainability, you need to know what the 6 capital framework is all about and how you can implement or apply the 6 capital framework, considering the internal dynamics of your chosen company, Leothayre. And you also need to have a good understanding of how the risks which we are exposed to will impact our share price. And if we are pursuing a certain strategic option, how this strategic option will impact our share price, and if our beta is supposed to increase or decrease, how this increase or decrease in beta will impact our share price. All these things which fall under the finance strategy syllabus will be tested at the exam, and we have made sure to cover all these elements when developing the 6 mock exams. So that's your F3 syllabus, and in the upcoming 2 workshops, I will explain the remaining syllabus elements tied to your E3 syllabus as well as your P3 syllabus. Okay, so that's these are the syllabus content. Having said that, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS before we move on to the mock exam discussion. All right, so I'm on the SCS page. If you're yet to create a free user account, click on this button and do so. Once you have created a free user account, you would see this button which reads as Access Dashboard. Click on this button, go to My Courses, and in front of SCS Free, click on the Access Content button, and then you'd gain access to the weekly recordings of the webinars and workshops which we conduct free of charge. Then you'd gain access to the SCS syllabus as well as the pre-seen mind map. You guys saw the syllabus content document just some 5 seconds back. And on top of that, I showed to you the SCS pre-seen mind map as well. So you can download all these resources via the study material tab. And you'd also gain access to the questions and answers, the suggested answers of mock exam 1. And also via the exams tab, by clicking on SCS mock 1, you can attempt SCS mock 1 under exam conditions, thereby practicing your answering, time management and stress management techniques. So all these things come with the free resources. These are the free resources on offer. Click on this button and create a free user account. And if you are interested in investing on our paid content, click on this button and check the sample material. And you can also join our SCS WhatsApp discussion forum. Via this forum, we'll keep you guys informed about the weekly webinar and workshop commencement dates and times. And at the same time, if you have any questions, you can get them addressed via this WhatsApp group. Also, we will be sharing free resources via this same WhatsApp group. And talking about what we offer 2 packages, the essential course and the premium course. The essential course is designed for those who have completed their E3, P3, and F3 OTQ exams. Since you have completed OTQs, you have mastered theory already. When it comes to passing this exam, your job is to improve your application skills. So with the intention of fine-tuning your application skills, we have included certain resources under the essential course, which includes the recordings of weekly webinars and workshops, 6 mock exams with suggested answers, which are intended to cover all syllabus areas, pre-scene analysis videos, the annotated pre-scene, industry analysis and financial analysis slides. Let me quickly show you the annotated pre-scene. So we have come up with annotations with the intention of summarizing the entire pre-scene, which makes your life easy when it comes to understanding what's highlighted within your pre-scene document. Also, we have conducted our own analysis, thereby highlighting any shortcomings as per what's highlighted within the pre-scene, highlighting any shortcomings within Leothayre. And also, I've mentioned the probable exam scenarios which can be tested based on hints provided by the examiner via your pre-scene document. And talking about the industry analysis slides, these are divided into 4 main parts. In the first part, we have defined your chosen industry so that you gain a clear understanding of what type of a company Leothayre is and in which type of an industry it operates. And in the second and third parts, we have explained about the competitive landscape and industry trends. Based on these industry trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And at the very end, we have provided examples concerning 2 real-life companies to make sure that you gain a good understanding of how real-life similar companies, which are similar to Leothayre, go through in the real industry. And talking about the financial analysis slides, these were the slides which we prepared for the previous case study. So you would gain access to a good evaluation of each financial statement. We have made sure to keep things simple so that you can easily understand what's highlighted within each financial statement. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, and the statement of changes in equity. And also we have conducted a ratio analysis comparing your performance, Leothayre's performance against its closest competitor. And again, we have evaluated everything, making sure to keep things simple to make sure that you gain a good understanding about the financial situation of your chosen company against its closest competitor. All right, so these are the resources on offer under the essential course. You'd also gain access to the top 20 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable scenarios which can be tested at the exam. You'd also gain access to a case study familiarization kit. If you read through this kit within 10 to 15 minutes, you are in a position to gain a good understanding about the technicalities behind your SCS exam. You will gain access to a tutor-managed live chat and OTQ revision cards. So after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you can't remember a certain theoretical concept, or if you struggled with a certain theoretical concept, don't waste time. Simply refer to our OTQ revision cards and brush up your knowledge in a jiffy. And the premium package, the essential course is priced at £299. And talking about the premium course, this is designed for those who are coming through the exemption routes and those who had failed the exam previously. Both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So with the intention of teaching you all theoretical concepts, covering all syllabus areas, and at the same time teaching you application skills, we have included some additional resources under the premium course. So on top of what you'd gain access to under the essential course, you'd also gain access to the online mock exam platform on which you can attempt all 6 mock exams under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. You will also receive tutor feedback on mocks 3 and 5. So let me quickly show you the type of feedback on offer. So as you can see, we have evaluated each and every point, each and every paragraph in depth with the intention of highlighting your shortcomings, because it's essential that you gain a good understanding of what's wrong with your answers, so that when revising, when redeveloping answer plans, you can take steps to avoid these shortcomings and conduct preparations in the most optimal manner. So you can see the type of feedback we offer at TCS. And at the very end, we've provided mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. So, and on top of that, we have also indicated a success rate. The success rate indicates the subtasks in which your performance was substandard. So if you look at this student's marks, she has only gained 31 marks. And that is why the success rate is extremely bad in all the subtasks in here. That's why all these subtasks are highlighted in yellow. So after receiving tutor feedback, after understanding your shortcomings, your next step should be to redevelop answer plans focused on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. Although this student ended up getting 31 for this mock exam, at the real exam ended up scoring 88 marks and passing in the first sitting itself. So this is a student who came through the exemption route, who was clueless about the theories covered within the E3, F3, and P3 syllabi, who was clueless about application. That's why this individual got just 31 marks for this mock exam, but ended up scoring 88 at the real examination. All right, so that's the type of feedback on offer. And you would also gain access to answer plans of all 6 mock exams, which is the best tool to understand the logic of each answer, logic behind each answer, understand how to structure each answer, understand your application skills. And also, when it comes to conducting revision, I expect you to redevelop answer plans. Once you have redeveloped answer plans, you are supposed to compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's, thereby easily understanding whether you still have shortcomings when it comes to answering technique. Because at this exam, it all comes down to improving your application skills, improving your answering technique. So these answer plans will come in handy. And in a little while, you will see what an answer plan looks like, because based on it, I'm going to take you through the question and answer concerning the gearing ratio or financing options. And you'd also gain access to 15 master classes. So covering mocks 2 to 6, we have developed 15 master classes. And in each master class, we have taught the theoretical concept covered within each mock exam. And at the same time, we have highlighted application skills. And again, in a little while, you will see how we conduct master classes, what is covered within the master classes, because similar to how we conduct our master classes, I'm going to take you through the mock exam concerning the F3 syllabus in a little while. So once you have access to all these resources, you will pass for sure, hence the pass guarantee. So if you invest on the premium course and end up failing, you will gain access to the premium content in your subsequent sitting free of charge. However, in order to claim the pass guarantee, you have to complete these 3 requirements. You have to complete all 6 mock exams. If not, you are testing your luck. Just because you invest on premium, you can't pass. You have to stick to the process in which the first step is with regards to attempting all 6 mock exams. And when attempting each mock exam, don't refer to the answers. Don't refer to the suggested answers, answer plans, or master classes. Do it on your own, because the intention of attempting each mock exam under exam condition is to under exam conditions is to understand your shortcomings. Because if you understand your shortcomings right now, you can take steps towards overcoming these issues when conducting revision, when redeveloping answer plans. So attempt each mock exam on your own. Try to give your best shot with the intention of understanding your shortcomings. And you are supposed to meet the performance criteria of 40% or higher for the last 3 mock exams, because by the time you are in the last 3 mocks, you will have a good understanding of the answering and time management techniques. You won't run out of time. So when this is the case, you can easily gain a 40% or higher for the last 3 mock exams. You have come up with this performance criteria to make sure that you do a serious job when attempting the last 3 mocks. And once you have completed these 3 requirements, you will pass for sure. That is why we are providing a pass guarantee under the premium course. So the premium course is priced at £849, which can be paid in 2 installments of £424 each, Or if you opt to pay in full, you can save £100. If so, the price is just £749. So if you're still contemplating about investing on study resources, do so right now, because you only have 3 weeks at your disposal. And on top of that, I need to remind you that only out of 15 seats which are available under the premium course, only 2 seats are remaining. Once the 2 seats are done, we will stop providing tutor feedback, because we can't mark more than 15 answer scripts per session. So only 2 seats are remaining within the premium course. And all products are available until the 30th of August 2025. So if you're planning to sit for the SCS exams happening in August, you can invest right now and start your preparations, which will give you a head start so that you can conduct all preparatory work in a relaxed atmosphere. And if you are adhering to our original 8-week study plan, let me quickly highlight what you need to do within this week. We are in week number 5, and within this week, you are supposed to attempt mock exam 4 under exam conditions via the exam platform. Once you have attempted mock 4, watch the 3 master classes to learn theory and improve application, and test your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans focused on mock exam 4. All right, so that's what you are supposed to achieve within this week. However, if you are yet to start preparations, simply stick to the 3-week study plan, which I explained at the inception of today's session. Okay, so having said that, let's move on to the discussion of the mock exam, thereby focusing your attention towards the question tied to your F3 syllabus. Okay, so we are in the third section, the last section of mock exam 1, SCS mock 1, section 3. The time allocation is 60 minutes. A month later, you receive the following email from the CFO. I have attached a scanned copy of a quotation that has been circulated to the board. All right, so let's look at what's highlighted within this quotation. So this quotation is from a company known as vEscrow, and there are 2 different costs which are indicated within this quotation. Initial escrow setup and integration, which comes up to $200 million, and annual escrow management fee, which comes up to $5 million. In total, the total quotation is for $205 million. Let's see what these costs are all about. So let's first direct our attention towards the initial escrow setup and integration cost, which comes up to $200 million. Escrow setup and integration, we propose a customized escrow arrangement for Leothayre satellite deorbiting technology, securing technical documentation, design schematics, and software protocols to protect intellectual property. Access will be granted only to licensed parties under strict legal and technical conditions. So this is an escrow arrangement. We don't know what this escrow is all about. We are still going through the requirement partially. And looking at the $5 million investment, which is tied to an annual escrow management fee. vEscrow will maintain the escrow arrangement through ongoing services, including 24/7 system availability and technical support, quarterly compliance audits, secure updates and integration of design enhancements, and control digital releases of assets to licensees upon trigger conditions. So this seems to be an annual cost, whereas the initial setup and integration cost looks to be a one-time payment. All right, so let's see what this question is all about. vEscrow has an excellent reputation for the provision of escrow services. What is an escrow service? Especially when sharing intellectual property, companies utilize the services offered by escrow services providers. So an escrow service provider is a company, a third party, which acts as the middleman between Leothayre and any other company which exploits or which is interested in utilizing Leothayre's intellectual property. So vEscrow, or this company which is involved with escrow services, are involved with managing the intellectual property of Leothayre when Leothayre is trying to share its intellectual property with third parties out there. So it's the intention of securing the intellectual property rights of Leothayre when Leothayre is trying to share this technology or these intellectual properties with third parties. vEscrow conduct its operations. The company is based in Zealand. As you know, as per the pre-scene, Leothayre is based in Wexland. However, this company, VSCRO, is located within a different country, which is known as Zealand, whose currency is the C dollar. VSCRO insists on being paid in its home currency because it is stronger than the W dollar. So this indicates the fact that we are exposed to a foreign exchange risk because VSCRO insists that we pay them in C dollars, and it is stronger than our home currency, which is the W dollar. When this is the case, definitely we are exposed to foreign exchange risk in the future. The exchange rate is presently 3 W dollars equals 1 C dollar. So this is an extremely strong currency against the W dollar. If you look at the C dollar is extremely strong against the W dollar. That's why in order to purchase 1 C dollar, we have to spend 3 W dollars. So definitely we'd be exposed to foreign exchange risk in the future if we go ahead with this deal. I'm interested in your opinion on these matters. Recommend with reasons how we should finance the initial escrow setup and integration cost of $200 million and the annual escrow management fee of $5 million. All right. So before we develop the answer plan, your next step right after reading through the scenario should be to reiterate the requirement in your own words, in a concise manner, in a simpler manner, with the prime intention of gaining a clear understanding of what this requirement is all about. So that's exactly what you can see here if you look at the answer plan. So task number 3, how to finance the IS investment. So this is an IS investment which amounts to 205 million C dollars in total. So although the question is quite long, or the requirement is quite long, it's simply a matter of you having to explain how to finance this IS investment. Should we go for debt? Should we go for equity? And when dealing with the annual cost, how should we tackle it? How to finance the IS investment? So this type of simplification ensures that you gain a clear understanding of the requirement, which is essential. And as I mentioned earlier, whilst developing the answer plan, you can easily check whether you are headed in the correct direction when you have a simplified requirement at hand. So in order to make your life easy when it comes to developing the answer plan, and with the intention of gaining a clear understanding of the requirement, you are supposed to simplify the requirement, such as how I've done it in here, how to finance the IS investment. And looking at the weightage provided, which is 50%, which indicates the fact that in totality, per task, 50 marks are dedicated. So 50% of 50 marks comes up to 25 marks in total. So in order to gain 25 marks, since each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks, you need to come up with something like, I'm not too good at maths, something like 25 divided by 2 comes up to something like 12.5, and 25 divided by 3 comes up to something like 8 points. So 8 to 12 points, you need to come up with 8 to 12 valid points in order to score 25 marks. Okay, so that's how we are supposed to determine how many points should appear under this subtask, or in the answer pertaining to this subtask. All right, so having understood these things, let's try to understand how you should structure your answer. So let me scroll down to the answer plan concerning section 1 of task number 3. So I've started my answer by developing a main heading, which is in bold and underlined format, which reads as funding options. And then for I've come up with subheadings as well, which is in bold format. So initial escrow setup and integration, that's one of my subheadings. How to deal with this initial escrow setup and integration cost. And I've come up with another subheading highlighting the annual escrow management fee, how to deal with the annual escrow management fee. Okay, so let's look at how to tackle this type of an investment, this type of a question rather. So looking at the quotation provided by VSCRO, the total cost comes up to $205 million. So first things first, we need to understand how much this is in terms of W dollars. So as per the exchange rate provided within this scenario, 1 C dollar equates to 3 W dollars. So 205 million C dollars equates to 615 million W dollars. How did I arrive at this figure? Simply by multiplying 205 million by 3. So 205 into 3 comes up to 615 million. So the total investment in W dollar terms come up to $615 million. This is a significant investment. So first things first, let's direct our attention towards the escrow setup and integration cost. As per the quotation, it comes up to 200 million C dollars. Okay, initial escrow setup and integration comes up to 200 million C dollars. And again, we need to see how much this is in W dollar terms by multiplying this by 3, which gives us an answer which comes up to W dollars 600 million. And when funding this type of huge investment, we have two main options at our disposal. We can go for a long-term loan, or in other terms, we can opt for debt, or we can issue equity, thereby issuing shares to the public. It could be a fresh share issue, or we can simply issue shares to our existing shareholders, which is known as a rights issue. So whenever your knowledge pertaining to funding options are tested, first things first, understand how much the investment is in your home currency in W dollar terms. And after understanding the investment in your home currency, then you need to know what your options are. When it comes to raising this amount of money, you have two options at your disposal as a quoted company. You can opt for debt financing, or you can opt for a long-term loan, or you can issue equity since you are a quoted company. All right, so first things first, let's direct our attention towards how to deal with loan financing. So when raising this $600 million, can we do so by going for a debt or by raising loan finance? So if we are opting for a loan, we have to first things first understand how it impacts our gearing ratio. So the pre-investment gearing was 50% as per what's highlighted within your pre-scene. However, the post-investment gearing, after including the 600 million, assuming the fact that we are going for a loan for the entire amount, assuming that we are opting for a loan which amounts to $600 million, when we include it in our non-current liabilities, then we are supposed to recalculate the gearing or calculate the post-investment gearing. So the post-investment gearing comes up to 53%. So this is debt divided by debt plus equity. So debt divided by debt plus equity used to be 50%, but now with this $600 million investment, if we finance it via debt financing, when we utilize the ratio, which is debt divided by debt plus equity, our post-investment gearing comes up to 53%. And our gearing is going above or going beyond 50%, which is the usual ceiling rate for the gearing ratio. As you know, any company is supposed to keep their gearing ratio at 50% or lesser than that, because once you exceed this gearing ceiling, or once you exceed a 50% gearing ratio, then such a company will be seen as a risky entity in the eyes of finance providers. Why is this the case? Because when your gearing is above 50%, it indicates the fact that the company has taken up too much loans. And when a company takes up too much loans, one fine day in the future, they might, lose their capability to repay the loans on time. When you have too much loans, you might face bankruptcy in the future. So when lending to such a company which carries a high gearing ratio or a gearing ratio which is above 50%, since the lenders see us as a risky business, they will seek, when they are taking on a higher amount of risk when lending money to us, they will seek higher returns. As you know, there's a positive relationship between risks and returns. So higher the risk, higher the returns, and lower the risk, lower the returns. So since the lenders are taking on risks by lending to a company which has taken up too much debt, then they will seek higher returns. And how will they get compensated? By increasing their interest rates. So if a normal company can borrow at something like 5%, when lending to a company which has exceeded the gearing ceiling, then the interest rate could be something like 8% or 10%. So our finance costs will increase, simply given the fact that we are seen as a risky business in the eyes of lenders. So Leothayre will definitely become a risky business in the eyes of lenders, since we have exceeded the gearing ceiling thereby having a post-investment gearing of 53%. And therefore, as I mentioned earlier, lenders will charge a higher interest rate, which will increase our finance costs. And this increasing finance costs is not going to be too good for us, because we have to look at the current interest cover, which is 1:1. So whenever your knowledge pertinent to funding options is tested, whenever you are talking about debt, you are supposed to talk about the gearing ratio. Whenever talking about the gearing ratio, always remember to focus your attention towards the interest cover as well. So the interest cover is 1:1. What does this indicate? If our finance cost or our loan interests come up to $100 million per year, our operating profits are at the same level, 100 million. So at the moment, as per our interest cover, at the moment we are just able to meet our finance costs, or pay our loan interests utilizing our operating profits. However, when gearing increases above 50%, as I mentioned earlier, the finance costs will increase. Why is this the case? Because lenders will charge an extremely high interest rate, because they view us as a risky business, and with that the finance costs will significantly increase. And this significant finance cost increments will impact our interest cover in an adverse manner. If by any chance our interest cover reduces or goes beyond 1, then it indicates that we are not generating enough operating profits which will enable us to repay our loan interests. And this will be a concern of lenders, because lenders will always think about whether we are capable of repaying loan interest on time, repaying the loans on time. If they see that we cannot do so, especially when the gearing is high, if they see that we cannot do so, they will not extend loan financing to us. And this lowers our access to competitively priced debt finance. What is competitively priced debt financing? What does it mean? As I mentioned earlier, if your gearing is less than 50, you will receive a loan at the normal interest rate. However, if your gearing is beyond 50%, then you will receive a loan at an extremely higher interest rate. So we won't have access to competitively priced debt financing. We won't have access to debt financing at the market rate. And all these things, considering all these things, it seems like we are not in a position to opt for debt financing, especially given the fact that our gearing is above, post-investment gearing goes above 50%, and at the same time, our interest cover is currently 1:1, but in the future, with our finance costs increasing, our interest cover will go below 1. If that is the case, the lenders might be discouraged to lend money to us. And when it comes to securing this loan, so first things first, we have evaluated how this loan is going to impact our gearing and our interest cover. Then you need to think in terms of what we need to do to secure this loan, which comes up to $600 million. Securing this loan might be difficult due to the nature of the assets acquired. So we are spending $600 million to acquire what? An escrow service. And an escrow service is considered as an intangible asset. So we are investing on an intangible asset, and intangible assets are not appraised, cannot be appraised easily, and liquidated easily as well. So because of that, lenders will see intangible assets as bad collateral. So when giving out money or extending loan financing, lenders will always keep some type of a collateral. So when keeping some type of collateral, their objective is to make sure that if we don't pay on time, they still have access to an asset which they can sell in the market and generate some money. However, this is an intangible asset. We are seeking $600 million to finance an escrow setup, which is an intangible asset. So these type of intangible assets cannot be appraised clearly. You cannot easily determine the real value of this escrow service, and at the same time, you cannot liquidate an intangible asset as you do a tangible asset. So if you gain access to a building, maybe, or if the lenders are asking for a building as collateral, if you don't pay on time, they can sell the building and make some money out of it. They can significantly reduce the risk of non-payment. However, when they are gaining access to an intangible asset, they cannot liquidate this asset. So because of that, such intangible assets will be considered as bad collateral. So this will impact our ability to secure this loan. And on top of that, what type of an intangible asset are we talking about? This includes a setup cost, initial escrow setup and integration cost, which comes up to $200 million in C dollar terms or $600 million in W dollar terms. So this is a setup cost which carries no resale value. Because of that, again, this will be seen as bad collateral. So we might be facing issues given the fact that we are dealing with an intangible asset which is considered as bad collateral. And also, we have to look at the current non-current liabilities of Leothayre. The current non-current liabilities is lower than property, plant, and equipment as per what's highlighted within the statement of financial position. So because of this, since we have access to some additional property, plant, and equipment compared to our non-current liabilities, we can secure this additional debt against our existing assets. So that option is there. If the lenders say that they cannot, they will definitely not, consider this intangible asset as a good collateral. Because of that, they'd seek some other type of collateral. And when they are asking for other type of collateral, we can secure this debt against our existing assets. However, when doing so, we should take steps to avoid breaching debt covenants. When opting for our existing loans, we might have signed debt covenants. A question to do with debt covenants and how to deal with a breach of debt covenants is highlighted within mock exam 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, in SCS mock 4, we have covered a question to do with debt covenants. Because of that, I'm not going to explain debt covenants in depth in here. What you need to know at this juncture is the fact that if we secure our existing assets against this debt, against this additional debt, then we have to make sure to avoid breaching our existing debt covenants. And as part of these debt covenants, we might have predetermined gearing standards as well. So we should not breach these gearing standards when trying to secure this additional debt against our existing assets. So that's how you're supposed to deal with debt. So first things first, you are supposed to think in terms of how it impacts our gearing ratio. Then think in terms of how the additional debt impacts our interest cover. Based on these things, you can see how the financiers are going to react to this type of debt. Then you need to think in terms of how we should secure the loan, thereby looking at whether we are dealing with a tangible asset or an intangible asset. And then since we are dealing with an intangible asset, we have to rely on other tangible assets at our disposal by looking at the current non-current liabilities against the property, plant, and equipment. So that's how we are supposed to deal with debt financing. All right, so the other option at our disposal is raising equity financing. So as I mentioned at the very beginning of the answer, we have two options at our disposal. We can go for a long-term loan or we can issue equity. So I'm looking at the second part of the answer, raising equity financing. So when we are raising equity financing, we can opt for a rights issue. This is the easiest way in which we can raise equity financing by selling shares to our existing shareholders, because if we try to go for a fresh share issue, it will be extremely costly for us because we'd have to market this issue for a long period of time, which is going to be expensive. And on top of that, it's not too easy to convince the general public to take up a fresh share issue. Instead, it makes our life easy when we try to sell shares to our existing shareholders. So when we try to sell shares to our existing shareholders, it is considered as a rights issue. So a rights issue is when we are raising money by selling shares at a discount to our existing shareholders. So if our share price is $4, if we are going for a rights issue with the intention of encouraging existing shareholders to take up the rights, we have to sell the shares at $3.5, for instance. So the existing share price, if it's $4, we have to sell it at a discount. And if we go for equity financing, our existing gearing ratio will decrease, which is going to be extremely beneficial for us. The pre-investment gearing is already at 50%. And in such an environment, if we can take steps to reduce our gearing ratio, then in the eyes of lenders, we will be seen as a stable company. So it makes sense to go for a rights issue, because when equity increases, then the gearing ratio will decrease. However, the success of opting for a rights issue depends on how shareholders are convinced, as I mentioned earlier. So with the intention of convincing the shareholders, we have to explain what this escrow service is all about. If we opt for this escrow service, it will significantly enhance the credibility of the licensing agreement. So as I mentioned earlier, in section 2 of this mock paper or mock exam, there's a mention about us trying to, we have, innovated something, some, new technology, and with the intention of sharing this innovative technology, thereby benefiting from an additional revenue stream. We intend to share this intellectual property, share this technology with other players within the satellite industry. And when doing so, with the intention of doing it securely, with the intention of securing our intellectual property rights, we are utilizing the services offered by an escrow services provider. So if we go ahead with this initiative, it will significantly enhance the credibility of the licensing agreements, and this leads to increased long-term value and positive NPVs, because when we take steps to safeguard our intellectual property, we can keep utilizing our intellectual property for the next 20-25 years, thereby getting access to additional revenue streams, and this in turn will increase the long-term value of our company and leads to positive NPVs in the future. And when this is the case, our revenues, therefore our profits will increase. When profits increases, it leads to shareholder confidence. Shareholder confidence leads to an increase in share price in the future. So all these things should be communicated to the shareholders before we go for the rights issue, which makes it easy for us to convince the shareholders. So that's how you are supposed to deal with equity financing. So everything looks to be good if we try to fund this significant investment using equity financing. All right, so the second part of your question is to talk about the annual escrow management fee, how to deal with this. So as per what's highlighted within this quotation, the annual escrow management fee comes up to $5 million. So each year we have to pay 5 million C dollars. So again, before I develop the answer, I'm trying to understand how much this is in W dollar terms. So the C dollars 5 million comes up to 15 million W dollars. And we are dealing with recurring expense because we have to make this investment on an annual basis. And when dealing with a recurring expense, we have to finance this via working capital. That's one of our options at our disposal, because we can't go for debt or equity financing when we are investing this annual fee, because this is an annual fee. When dealing with an annual fee, we can't go for debt or equity financing. Instead, we have to go for working capital, or we have to fund this utilizing working capital. So if we go down this route, if we finance this $15 million on an annual basis via our working capital, it will not impact our gearing. Why is this the case? When we are computing the gearing ratio, we are utilizing the formula, which is debt divided by debt plus equity. So when we are considering debt, we are considering non-current liabilities. We are not considering current liabilities, because financing via working capital is a situation where we are utilizing short-term funding or the current liabilities. So if we opt for this type of funding, utilizing our current liabilities or utilizing our working capital, it will not impact our gearing, because current liabilities or short-term financing is not considered under a gearing calculation. And when opting for or when financing via working capital, we have to always look at the non-current asset figure. Non-current assets, we can determine the non-current assets by deducting the current asset figure from the current liabilities. So current assets minus current liabilities, exposes us to the net current asset figure. So the net current assets, as per our financial statements, is a negative $308 million. So this is not enough, because when our net current assets is negative, this indicates the fact that our current liabilities are higher than our current assets. When this is the case, we don't have enough money to finance this $15 million investment on an annual basis utilizing our working capital. So the only other option at our disposal is to finance this $15 million via a short-term loan. Again, a short-term loan will not impact our gearing, because when computing the gearing calculation, we are supposed to utilize non-current liabilities or long-term, we are supposed to consider non-current liabilities or long-term loans. So if we go for a short-term loan, it will not impact our gearing. And also, we can, when opting for a short-term loan, we have to conduct negotiations by presenting cash flow forecasts to lenders. So definitely by selling this intellectual property, we will be exposed to additional revenue streams, which will be way more than $15 million. So these forecasts should be shared with our lenders, which will ease the negotiation process. However, our current interest cover might be a hiccup, might be problematic for us, because as I mentioned earlier, we are only generating enough operating profits, which enables us to repay our finance costs. We are currently generating enough operating profits to cover finance costs. However, if the finance cost increases in the future, we might face repayment issues. And because of that, this might reduce our access to short-term funding, because the lenders will always look at the interest cover before extending short-term funding. All right. So with regards to the annual escrow management fee, we can't finance it utilizing our working capital. And at the moment, we might be able to go for a short-term loan. The only way to do this is by presenting the cash flow forecasts to lenders tied to this sharing of intellectual property, because if you look at the current interest cover, the lenders might be discouraged of lending money to us, because in the future we might face issues pertinent to repaying the finance costs. All right, so that's how you are supposed to deal with the annual escrow management fee. Okay, so that's what I wanted to highlight. And in the second part, there's a mention of debt covenants. So you have access to the answer plan if you had invested on paid content. So go through it to gain an understanding of how to deal with debt covenants, because if you look at the second subtask, the covenants on our existing loan forbid us to exceed a gearing of 52%. However, the post-investment gearing is going to be 53%. So we will be breaching our debt covenants. The board does not intend to issue shares at present as well. And tied to this information, you are supposed to recommend with reasons how we should deal with the breach of our debt covenants if we borrow $200 million. Okay, so this question, I'm not going to take you through this answer because we don't have enough time. So this is how you should tackle a question to do with financing options. So I hope you gain a good understanding of the theoretical concepts tied to funding options, and at the same time you understood how to apply these theoretical concepts when developing your answers. And in the same manner, we have conducted the master classes concerning covering mocks 2 to 6. Okay, and after you have developed this answer plan, your next step, utilizing the remaining time, which is 25 to 30 minutes on a section by section basis, you are supposed to expand the answer plan in paragraph form. So your final answer should not look like this. This is your answer structure or your answer plan. You are supposed to develop this within 25 to 30 minutes, thereby structuring your answer. Once you have planned out your answer, once you have structured your answer, you are supposed to expand your answer in paragraph form in this manner, thereby developing a paragraph per answer point. Okay, so you can look at, you can compare the answer plans to the suggested answers to gain a good understanding of how to achieve this at your real examination. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover. And, our pass rate for the previous sitting was 90%. Only 2 students ended up failing. All the other students passed. And you can achieve a similar feat by simply sticking to our 8-week study plan or sticking to our 3-week study plan, which I explained at the inception of today's session. All right, so having said that, it brings us to the Q&A. So I'm going to pause the recording. If you have any questions or concerns, you can switch on your mic and talk, or simply drop us a message via the chat. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks, thank you very much for those questions. I hope I addressed everything. And if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Visit our website and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours. And you can directly email us at info@study@tcs.com, or simply drop us a message via our WhatsApp. And I invite you to follow us on our social media handles, especially TikTok and YouTube, because the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops will be uploaded to the YouTube handle. And on top of that, via TikTok, you would gain access to the pre-seen mind map. We have divided it into 6 different parts, and thereby developing 6 different videos. And on your way to office, for instance, keep watching these TikTok videos, 6 TikTok videos on a daily basis, to keep yourself constantly reminded of what's highlighted within your pre-seen document. And if you're yet to read the blog post focused on Leothayre, go to the blog area and please read this article. All right, so having said that, it brings us to the end of the first workshop conducted in lieu of the upcoming SCS exams. I hope you gain a good understanding of how to tackle questions tied to your F3 syllabus. And if you're yet to start preparations, don't worry, you still have time. Stick to our 3-week study plan, which I'm going to share after this session via the WhatsApp group. Stick to it religiously in order to pass in your first sitting at your upcoming SCS exam. And if you're sticking to our original plan, I hope you'd complete mock exam 4 within this week. And I wish you all the very best, and hope you'd stick to the plans, and hope to see you guys next week at the next workshop, in which I'm going to take you through a question tied to your P3 syllabus. So thank you very much for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Take care, folks.